I'm Mark Summers from ExpatLive.TV. So last year I had a crazy idea of creating a TV channel here in Spain for expats around the world. And when I came up with the crazy idea, I did a lot of research. I researched for days and days and days. And one of the companies I came across was LiveStream.com. And as you can see around me, that was the company I chose to use for all of our service and hardware. This review is going to look at various pieces of equipment that LiveStream.com provide. It's also going to look at their hosting solution. We went with their enterprise level, and how the whole thing connects together or not. So let's start by looking at the research that I did and the features that LiveStream.com provide. And LiveStream.com, out of all the providers, were one that came to me purely because I liked the fact that they had the service, i.e. the hosting side of it, as well as the hardware. The reason that appealed to me is because then if something went wrong, it's the same provider that can't then say, well, it's because your service is down or it's because the hardware isn't compatible or whatever. By using LiveStream.com, I thought that it would give us a fully integrated, fully supported solution. This review is going to help us realize what the actual situation was. So we're going to have a look at their capture side of their website. And what the capture side of the website does is it talks about the various different areas. So they have studio equipment. I chose the Studio HD550, this guy here. They also have their software, which is simply called Studio. And then they have cameras and camera attachments. We went with 4 Mevos with the Mevo boosts on the bottom. We went with 2 Broadcaster Pros and 1 HD550. So first of all, we're going to look at the Studio software. The Studio software is what gets installed onto the HD550, or equally you can build your own equipment to connect with it and then use Blackmagic cards or whatever for the HDMI inputs. So first of all, their website says that it's the most versatile live switcher, which suggests to me that it will do everything that you could ever want to do when you're creating a TV channel, especially when all their pictures show creating TV at events and so forth, including events out in the field. So let's have a look at some of these features. You can connect to any type of wired camera. Well, yes, the HD550 has 5 HDMI or SD inputs for wired cameras, so that is correct. And in fact, the HD550 works very, very well if your camera is plugged in via a HDMI camera. And then you can choose from a wide range of wireless cameras. Well, a wireless camera could be anything from a Mevo, an iPhone, and so forth. So let's just open up this page here to look at the wired cameras. So here they talk about a Google Glass, which I was stupid enough to buy many years ago and have hardly used. The Broadcaster Pro is a wired camera. iOS devices, Android devices, and desktops are all classed as wired cameras, and use any device, any of these devices as a wireless input into the studio. So you set it up as a wireless camera, and you can then select it on the left-hand side for it to connect. And keep going down. So here we have the scenario of a stadium here, where you've got Natalie in seat G24, you've got Annie in seat F07, you've got Anne it's at the front of the stage, and Stephen at seat A91, all using different devices. However, the situation here is all these devices can't actually be remote cameras, even though we're on the page that says remote cameras. They have to be on exactly the same Wi-Fi network. So in a situation of a stadium, they would have to be on a private Wi-Fi network so that other people couldn't get into the studio and connect to the studio software that way. So in fact, you can't use your iPhone, your Google Glass, your Android from this situation because they have to be on the same network. So they're not remote after all. Then we look at transmit HD cameras or webcams, and in this situation I haven't actually tested it, so I'm not going to review anything that I don't have experience for. But then we have the Broadcaster Pro, which suggests that you can, let's go and learn more about the Broadcaster. It suggests that you can connect a 4G dongle to the Broadcaster Pro, and from that you can then broadcast directly to the studio. However, the Broadcaster Pro has to be on the same Wi-Fi network as the studio, otherwise it won't connect. And the situation there is that obviously if you've got a Wi-Fi dongle, a 4G dongle connected to your broadcaster and they're out and about on the field, well, they're not going to be on the same network as the studio, and therefore it doesn't connect. And so the only way of really using the Broadcaster Pros out in the open is by streaming just that to the particular live stream service rather than to your broadcaster to mix it in with the rest. Yet their website says you can just simply select the live stream studio as desired, but that isn't actually the fact, and you cannot use it outside unless it's on the same network as the studio itself. So as far as a remote camera, it really isn't remote because it actually needs to be right next to the actual broadcaster itself. Therefore, it's kind of tethered rather than remote. So that's looking at the Broadcaster Pro. We have a Broadcaster Pro just here, which is effectively a nice piece of kit because it makes your camera wireless. We'll talk about the issues with the Broadcaster Pro later on in this broadcast, but the main issues are it has to be in the same room on the same Wi-Fi network as your studio. You need to make sure that your studio is or your Wi-Fi in your studio is super powerful. And we'll show you this later in the broadcast as well, but we have major issues where the cameras, both the Mevos and the Broadcaster Pros, simply drop and lose connection, which when you're in the middle of recording is not a big positive really for your production. The other thing that we have with the Broadcaster Pro is that it will only connect to either live stream directly or the studio. You can't broadcast to RTMP servers or Facebook Live or anything else. It literally is locked down to a LiveStream.com service, which for an expensive piece of kit, these run at, let me just grab the price for you. They run at about $600. And for something that then is locked down to LiveStream.com for their studio and or their service, well, that's an expensive piece of kit that doesn't actually perform as it should do. So moving back to the studio software, so we've looked at the connections, we've looked at the fact that they say that you can have these extra wireless cameras, but that actually only works if they're on the same network. And then we get to this point here, which is stream live to multiple cameras, to multiple platforms. Well, you can stream live to multiple platforms, but only one at a time. So you can't stream to Facebook Live and live stream at the same time. Now, this was the case until about 2 weeks ago, and now for enterprise level live stream, there is a way of streaming to two places at the same time, but they've literally brought that in the last 2 weeks, which is way after they started promoting that they could do something. Which seems to be LiveStream.com's main thing here is that they have a great list of some amazing features that they really wish that they could provide. And then they put a price tag on that and don't remember to actually develop the actual feature itself. But we'll go more through. The studio allows you to stream to Facebook Live, and that is actually a really nice feature. It works very well. You can stream to your personal profile, you can stream to the groups, you can stream to pages. It's a really good feature, being able to stream directly from the studio software out onto all those different platforms. But as I say, unless you have now the enterprise level, you can only stream to one platform at a time. Going back to this up here, it says stream to multiple platforms. Surely if they're selling that as a service, there should be a little star there to say enterprise only, and not suggest that it's a feature to everybody. Here we can see that you can actually control your studio via the web. That's actually a nice feature. Saves you having things like log me in connected to the broadcaster and using up even more bandwidth. It's basically sending the signal of what the studio is doing to their service. So you can actually then control it from there. What you can't do from their web control is add anything more to the media bin or edit any of the settings or whatever. It is literally a view system rather than a web control system. You can change what is live and what is preview, etc., but you can't manipulate the media bin or anything like that in web control. The interview from anywhere has worked quite well in our tests. It allows you to use the webcam using Google Chrome of anyone, anywhere connected to the web. They just simply click on a link and open it up and allow the use of their camera, and that does work quite well. What it doesn't do, which is something that a lot of interviews would need, is allow them to share their screen, and it doesn't allow them to do that. It's purely just camera. Then we come to the Mevo remote cameras. We're going to cover Mevos completely separate later on, but it says here, let's read it. Bring Mevo as a remote camera over Wi-Fi or Ethernet, and then edit the virtual multi-camera using the Mevo iPhone app, and receive the results in the studio multi-view. This is great. If you use the Ethernet version of the Mevo, you have to then use the iPhones as a hotspot. The Mevos as a hotspot. What this means is then you need to, if you want to change the zoom of one Mevo, you need to change your Wi-Fi connection from one Mevo to the other Mevo, then edit it, and then change the Wi-Fi back to the next one before you can edit that. Rather than when you're using one Wi-Fi network, you can just flick between Mevo to Mevo when you've got multiple connected. We had lots of problems, which I can go to in detail later on in this review, of the quality of the Mevo going to the studio, both in pixelization, freezing, and then even losing connection or not working at all. And we were told use Ethernet, so we went out and we bought boosts for all the Mevos, and now this is the Mevo on the top here, and then this is a boost, which is effectively a battery pack Ethernet adapter. So it allows you to use the Mevo for a lot longer, but also use Ethernet. And so the issue with that, as I say, is that then controlling them, you actually need a different device pretty much for each Mevo to be able to change the zoom and the camera angles rather than flicking from one Mevo to another, because it's just, from a production point of view, completely unusable. We'll cover the loss of connection and so forth in a separate part of this video, just talking about Mevos. These cameras are very good on their own. I will say that. From a Facebook Live point of view, you can have a nice Facebook Live going on with a wide angle. You can zoom in. If you have multiple speakers, you can flick from one camera to another. And effectively, it's giving you 4K support and then allowing you to then bring in 1920 or 1080p mini cameras within that. However, the actual SD card on the in the Mevo only records at 720p. So if you want to direct directly to the SD card, then that's just going to be 720p, which is a bit sad, really, considering it's a 4K camera that it's only recording at 720p. It does allow you to have bonded streaming, which means that, so the studio allows you to have bonded streaming, which is quite good if you've got low-powered internet, which we do have in Spain. And what that allows you to do, as you see here from my screen, you can connect two Wi-Fis together, or even a Wi-Fi and a 4G connection together, so that you can then flick between the fastest connections, and your stream shouldn't ever drop. Excuse me. The built-in RTMP server allows you to pretty much connect other systems, and this is what we use as a workaround for our remote cameras for our New Year's Eve broadcast. Our first plan was to connect Mevos remotely to the studio and/or iPhones, etc. But because they can't connect because they're remote and not on the same network, we use the RTMP server, which allows you to connect your phone using a completely third-party piece of software, because the LiveStream app doesn't allow you to do this. It allows you to connect your phone to an RTMP server, and then it appears on the screen. Obviously, you need great connection on your phone, as well as a good inbound connection on your studio. What I really would have thought that they would do here is, in the LiveStream app, allow you to broadcast to your studio using RTMP. Simple solution to it, but even though it says it allows you to connect remotely, it doesn't. So frame accurate media playback, we haven't done much with this, but you can record, and I'll come on to recording using the studio later on. You can record using the studio, and we'll discuss that in a second. But then while you're recording, you can instantly play back something. So we use our equipment here for business and TV production, not really live sporting events, so we don't need to replay that goal instantly, etc. So we've not really used that. I'm sure, being as it says it on the page, it must do it, right? And then here we get to the multiple and simultaneous iOS recordings. So here it talks about the ability to record your program in broadcast quality with or without overlays. That's clean and dirty output. You can also record different cameras. Now, we'll talk about the actual HD550 features later on, but if you're installing this software on your own built equipment and you're using this feature, you do need to make sure that your hard drive has a very fast input and output. Similar to the SD cards in your camera, you're looking at a rating of at least 10, that little number in a circle. That's input and output, how fast it can record to the drive. That would be really important if you're building your own equipment. We're going to come later on to the HD550's features and how those features actually perform when you're using them. But the studio allows you to record multiple different inputs, outputs. You could record camera 1, camera 2, and your clean and dirty output, or don't record the clean and dirty output and record camera 1, 2, 3, and 4 if you wanted to edit those later on. The graphics within the studio are pretty cool. You can use lower thirds, you can use score charts, etc. They have a gallery where you can download some pre-produced lower thirds, etc. There's a cool one that monitors your Twitter feeds. You can have people tweeting in with your hashtag and have it automatically appear in your broadcast, which is a great feature for conferences. And that works as advertised, which is unheard of for live stream. The various other picture-in-picture works very well. You can create your own graphic overlays, which then have videos within it. We've used that both with a green screen and without, and that does work very, very well. Here is an example of Twitter being used, and I really love that feature, mainly because it works. It's suggesting that you can use this as a professional production tool for any event, and the transitions do work as advertised. As long as your inputs are still there, that will work perfectly. The audio mixer, we've had great use of the audio mixer. If you're using multiple Mevo cameras, you probably want to mute the sound from the Mevo camera, as you'll end up with echo and so forth from the various points where your Mevos are, and just have the sound coming in from your mixer desk. You can connect up with Google's advertising systems to overlay and embed mid-roll and pre-roll adverts. And it also is compatible with tally light systems. I've not used either of those features, and so I can't comment on whether they actually work as advertised. This we have used, the ability to convert different sources to your project format. So in most cases we will stream out at 1080p, but if you've got a camera coming in at 720p, like a GoPro, and then a remote cam that's coming in at 1080p and a wired cam coming in at 1080p, it will upscale or downscale according to the project. And that does seem to work reasonably well. And then you get to choose your studio hardware. And here, as I say, you can build your own piece of kit here, which will be a PC with lots of Blackmagic video cards in, HDMI inputs, and so forth. I chose to not build my own, and the reason for that is because, well, I'm not a big PC fan, I'm a Mac guy, and secondly, I didn't want the hassle of working out what hardware and software I wanted the professionals, who I thought were LiveStream.com, to be able to build a machine that was fit for purpose. So I chose the HD550, and let's just make sure we've covered everything from the studio point of view. So including in the studio, this is the studio software. You get 1 year of warranty, 1 year of phone support, and free software upgrades. We have used the phone support, which are responsive, and they do give you great answers to problems they can solve. However, phone support won't be able to solve problems where the system just doesn't do what they say it will do. So if you have an issue whereas for example, the recording of 4 inputs and that isn't working, well, they're not going to be able to fix it because that's actually a hardware issue rather than a software issue, and just badly designed spec of equipment. So this is there for you within the studio software. Okay, the studio software, I believe, is around $799 thereabouts. So the HD550 is what I chose to use, and they launched just after I purchased a 4K edition. I chose well, I didn't choose, it wasn't available. I had the previous edition to that. They still sell both. So the edition I had was a HD edition. It's $8,000 for this small box here. It's the most expensive piece of hardware or the most expensive computer I have purchased in my life. And we're going to go through now the various different features of the HD550. So the HD550 is what I decided to go with, and this was to use both in the TV studio for ExpatLive.TV, but also to use in a conference room that I own for a video switcher, a rather glorified video switcher, I agree, but nevertheless a video switcher that would enable us to utilize all the different cameras and all the different features that we have within the LiveStream Studio software on our projector screen and streamed out to conference owners or conference members that weren't attending the event. And I was super excited that I chose this as the solution to our problems, and until it arrived, and then my excitement dropped. So here's the box here. It's effectively a large desktop stroke laptop sized piece of kit. It's a screen with what would you call that? I guess an embedded system. I don't know. It's an all-in-one system. One of the key features, and we'll go down to features here, is the actual size and weight. So let's look at the size of the HD550. As you can see, it's small. It's I guess that's a 17-inch screen. It probably says on the spec here. No, it doesn't. But it's a 17.33 inches wide, so I guess that's a 17-inch screen, which has all the software on it, and then all of the sockets are down here on the side, and then power input on the other side. Takes a normal keyboard and mouse, although the keyboard does have a special features and so forth to it. One of the things I liked about it was the size, which enabled me to fly with it. So I flew from Phoenix to the UK to Spain with it already, so it's a well-traveled box. And one of the things that I liked is it did actually fit in the seat underneath, or the seat in front of me. The only problem with that is I'm 6'3", and sometimes I like to use the space in the seat in front of me. But they advertise that it is of those dimensions, and I can't argue. It is of those dimensions, and I have tested it, and it does fit under the seat in front of you. So let's look at the key features of the HD550. So as you can see from the side here, it does have 5 HDMI or SDI inputs. What this means is you can connect 5 HDMI cameras or 5 SDI cameras, or a mixture of them both. That's not 5 HDMI and 5 SDI, it's 5 total wired cameras. And from a wired camera point of view, we have had great results. If you connect wired cameras to this rather than remote cameras, it does work very well. Then you have one SDI or HDMI output. And this is great for projector screens or monitor screens where you want to actually see what is being broadcast out. You can connect this. And so in my conference room, I have this connected to my projector. And so that way the people in the room are also seeing what's being broadcast live out. And according to a feature here, it's the only switcher with built-in bonded transmission. What this means is if you have multiple connections, you can get it to switch between the two as quality drops, etc. And we have used that, and it does seem to work very well. And then you have one extended screen output using HDMI. So this means that if all of this information here is a bit too cramped for you, you can attach another monitor to it, and it will spread that out a little bit more evenly, and it will look a little bit more like the HD51 down here, which is a tower box with 2 screens as opposed to everything being integrated. So I've not tested that, but we've not needed to have extra screens. The next thing here is we've got 20 hours of broadcast quality recording. So let's look at that. basically, the feature around that is that with the HD550, you're allowed to record up to 4 different inputs. So that could be camera 1, camera 2, camera 3, and camera 4. It could be camera 1 and 2, and then your clean and dirty output. Or it could be your computer screen that the slides are coming from, 2 cameras and your dirty output, and so forth. However, the hardware that they've used for the LiveStream.com isn't powerful enough to record more than 2 inputs at the same time. We did our very first 3 days of recording, not realizing that this was an issue, and the recording just kept dropping, saying that the hardware couldn't keep up. For a piece of equipment that is extremely high-end, you would expect that the specification of that, which you get to read pre-sales, meets the delivery that you get to use post-sales. And unfortunately, in this situation, that's not only not been the case, but it's also cost us a lot of money in refilming and re-editing due to the loss of valuable footage that was supposed to have been recorded. The workaround for us was to only record 2 inputs at a time. However, when you buy a piece of equipment that says it can do 4, then really what should be delivered is a piece of equipment that says it can do, or that actually does 4. So this allows you to record 20 hours of quality broadcast, quality recording, as long as you are only recording 2 at a time or 1 at a time. Then I'm sure the 20 hours is possible. That's just really down to the 1 terabyte drive that the HD550 has, rather than the input and the output. So a feature that really isn't what it says it is. Analog audio in, as again you can see from the edge here, you have XLR inputs to come in microphones from, like I'm wearing now, a wireless mic. It can go directly into the XLR input, or you can use phono jacks and mini jacks as well for your microphone. And they were all controlled via the audio mixer. So I've covered the XLR inputs. The built-in chroma key, we can, basically we're using a green screen here, although you're seeing my screen instead of a green screen, but this is effectively a green screen. And you can use green screen on any of the cameras within the footage, which we have used for live green screen productions. We actually use this a lot for like keynote presentations, PowerPoint or Keynote on a Mac. And what you can do with that is make your background of your PowerPoint presentation green, and then using a white piece of text with a black shadow, you can then overlay it onto a person. So if you had the person off-centered on the stage, you can have them talk about their main points, which are then being shown on the video, rather than switching from the video to the presenter and back to the video and back to the presenter. And that does work very well. The free graphic tracks is what you're going to use for that particular feature. So in this case, you will have the ability to create the lower thirds for Twitter, as we mentioned earlier, or the presenters' names, etc. It runs on Windows 8. Sadly, it does. I'm a Mac guy, and this is the first PC I've used in many, many years. And it really, I kind of pretend it's not a PC and that it's its own piece of software. But that isn't something that LiveStream.com say it is or it isn't. And they do say it's Windows 8, and it is Windows 8. Then you've got built-in live streaming, and you can, in fact, just as the software, because it is the studio software, stream to Facebook, to RTMP servers, to live stream itself, or whatever. And then is a really nice carry case. It's a well-protected carry case with a very comfy shoulder strap for when you're carrying the live stream or the HD550 across airports and so forth. It is a heavy piece of equipment, as you can see up here. It's £19. So it is quite a heavy piece of equipment, but it is quite comfortable carry strap to carry it. And then it comes with, as I said earlier, the LiveStream keyboard, which has special keys for cutting and previewing and so forth, and a mouse, and even a nice little mouse mat that it comes with. So that's the HD550 in a nutshell. We're going to be going into more detail about the issues that we've had and showing you those issues in the next part of this video. And then we're also going to be talking about the Mevos and the issues around choosing a Mevo. I'd really love for you to be able to comment, so please use the comment box below and let me know about your questions you have. Maybe if you're deciding on whether LiveStream.com is the right solution for you, or you're looking at Telestream or any of the other providers, Wowzer and so forth. Please comment below and ask any questions. If I can help you make the right decision as to what quality equipment you should buy, I'm more than happy to answer those. Or indeed, if you have purchased similar equipment and had issues, or better still, if you've actually managed to get it to work just as they say, please comment below and let the others know. And what I found when I did my research is there were very few reviews about how this equipment works and the quality of it. And I should have had alarm bells ringing to say, well, that's not a good thing, that there aren't people singing their praises. Now I see why that is the case. So please comment. Let's see what else other experiences you have, either good or bad, but let people out there make a educated decision on whether they want to invest in LiveStream.com equipment, or whether they want to look at other solutions that are out there instead.